Well, bakers, today I'm going to show you how to make an iconic American popsicle, Bomb Pops, also known as Rocket Pops. They're that gorgeous popsicle that is red, white and blue. It is really famous here in America. They're super delicious and fruity, perfect for the summertime, especially around 4th of July. They're really easy to make at home. You're going to use all natural fruit and they're absolutely delicious. So first off, you need a food processor or a blender or an immersion blender. Any of those will do. And into that, we are going to make our first layer, which is red, because we're kind of going backwards here. I'm going to put in some strawberries. Now I'm using frozen strawberries that have been defrosted, but you can also use fresh strawberries. So next to this, we're going to add in a little bit of lemonade. This adds sweetness and it also gives us that like extra liquid that we need and flavor. So George loves lemonade and I don't buy it, I actually make it here because we have a tree out in my garden that is coming down with lemons year round. Next, we are going to add in some yogurt. Now the beauty of this recipe is that it is customizable. So if you are non-dairy, then use non-dairy yogurt, that is totally fine. I would recommend if you're using just plain yogurt, make sure it's full fat so you get all that lovely extra flavor. And plain yogurt, not like vanilla flavored or anything like that, just regular yogurt. Using that plain yogurt gives the pop extra protein and vitamins and calcium, and it just makes me feel a little bit better when I see George eating them. And then into this, I'm going to add in a little bit of sugar, and that's just to bring up the sweetness in the other ingredients. When desserts freeze, like ice cream, sorbet, popsicles, the flavor actually dulls hours after it's frozen. So you do want to bump up the sweetness, the zestiness of it a little bit. So when you go to eat it, it's like the perfect balanced flavor. On with our lid. If you are using frozen fruit, just make sure you defrost it first. Lastly, now this is optional, you could add in a little bit of food coloring. What I like to use is actually plant-based food coloring to keep it, you know, with like the natural colors. So add a little bit in there and then blend it up until it's lovely and smooth. There we go, beautiful. Look at that, look at the lovely color. Gorgeous. I love blended strawberries. And just a little, this is actually a food styling tip. If you want to get really vibrant, like that lovely punchy red, almost pinky, use raspberries and you get that gorgeous color. Oh, yum. Oh, yummy, yummy, yummy. Okie dokie, so here I have a popsicle mold. I picked the one that's kind of the shape of Bomb Pops a little bit. And we are going to fill that around 1/3. Remember, we're doing multiple layers here. So a little bit in each one. You can use any molds that you have. So get it as evenly as you can. Try and get them even, like I said, 1/3 up. And then the last thing we're going to do is, because you want to get that beautiful, like that striped look, really clean lines. So take a tissue and just wipe down the side of the mold. This is, you know, something you might think like, oh, Gemma's been a little bit fussy. But when you see them come out and you have that beautiful red, white and blue, and the layers aren't muddied and they don't bleed, it really does look gorgeous. So just go down the side of the mold and give it a little wipey wipe. That's it, lovely. On with our hat and then in with your popsicle stick. You guys know with popsicle molds, you never push the stick all the way down to the bottom, otherwise it'll pop out the head. So just push it down there, keeping a little bit at the bottom for you to hold. Now this recipe will make around 8 to 10 popsicles, so actually quite a lot. Okay, that's it. Our first layer is done. It looks great. I'm going to pop these into the freezer. Now what you want to do is let these freeze for around 2 hours, let it get nice and firm, and then you can pour in your next layer. Okay, so our strawberry layer is done. Let's talk about our white layer. Here I have some more yogurt. In you go. You can also use Greek yogurt, you know, which is like extra fatty and creamier. So either of those will work really well. I always have yogurt in my house because I have a 4-year-old. And now our lemonade. And then lastly, a little bit of sugar, just to bump up that sweetness. If you don't want to use granulated sugar, that's totally fine. If you wanted to make them all natural, you can use honey or agave or even maple syrup, but just know that will change the texture a little bit and will also change the flavor, where sugar is just kind of neutral. On with our hat. And blendy blendy. Zoom, zoom, zoom. I love these blenders because they just annihilate anything that you're blending. So like Georgia's smoothies, oat flour, like whatever it is, it just totally just blends it up really well. Okay, yummy. Let me just give this a little taste. Taste your layers in case you want a little bit of extra sweetness. Ooh, it's zippy, but it's yum. Yum, yum. Lovely, gorgeous. I'm positive our strawberry layer is frozen. It's time to pour this in. When you're adding in the yogurt layer, just like before, add it around 1/3 of the way up, keeping that room for our last layer. Making sure that that first strawberry layer is frozen is very important so the colors don't bleed. Just like before with the tissue, just wipe down the sides to make sure that we have a nice, clean white layer and it doesn't bleed into our next one. This is ready to go back on with our lid and into the freezer to freeze for another 2 hours. So if this recipe is getting you in the mood for summer, then definitely check out my tie-dye all-natural popsicles. They are absolutely delicious, made with all fruit, a little bit of veg in there, and without a mold. They're absolutely spectacular and lovely, and kids adore them. I also have this awesome, like beautiful watermelon popsicle that looks like watermelon with all the beautiful layers. That's all natural. It has some little cheeky chocolate chips in there. Popsicles are really popular for us, so I made so many flavors that are all natural, great for family, great for kids, easy to make, and they're absolutely delicious, so definitely check those out. So our last layer is our blue one. So here we have some blueberries. I like to use frozen blueberries. I'll tell you why. I think the color is so much more vibrant in them. And just a little fun fact for those of you who think, you know, why would you use frozen when you can use fresh? The thing about frozen is they're actually sometimes cheaper. The second thing is that often frozen fruit and vegetables are frozen on a farm at a facility. They're flash frozen. So they retain all their nutrients. They're frozen really quickly and they're really good quality. So don't ever think that like frozen fruit is lesser quality. You know, definitely buy like a good quality bag with no added sugar. But sometimes it's actually like the more, you know, economical and just better option. In with our yogurt. Lemonade, and that little bit of sugar. And if you want, remember, you can add a little bit of food dye to pump up that color. Now you know the drill. Blendy, blendy. You know, I trained as a pastry chef over 20 years ago, and something I pride myself on, especially today, is making some of your most favorite treats like from scratch, homemade, using good ingredients. Whatever snack or treat you can think of, I guarantee you I've got a homemade version, so stick around after and check out those videos. And just like that, we have our beautiful blue layer. My timer just went off telling me that our yogurt layer should be done, so time to top them off. Our second layer is firm, so now it's time for our last blueberry layer. Just like the others, divvy it up between your molds. This layer is the finishing touch on these beautiful popsicles. The next day when your popsicles are fully frozen, carefully remove them from the molds. I like to run mine under some hot water just to loosen them a little bit. If you do that, you pull them out and you get these lovely layers. Look at how beautiful these look. Gorgeous, vibrant colors. These are really fantastic. These popsicles are not only fruity and a little bit sweet, but they're also really refreshing. There's just layers of flavors here between the yogurt, the fruit, and the zippy lemonade. To me, these popsicles scream summertime, time with your family, outside, in the lovely weather, everything we love about summer in one bite. And the perfect treat to cool you down on a hot summer day. For more recipes like popsicles and ice cream, then stick around because I've got lots more for you to check out. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you back here again next week.